Maybe you know someone like this, someone who's always thinking, who looks around but truly sees nothing. The person sitting in a cafe with a cup of coffee in front of them, yet completely lost in another world. You ask a simple question, but they don't answer immediately. They pause for a moment. It's as if time itself has stopped. But inside, dozens of thoughts are moving all at once. Yes, deep thinkers may appear calm or even indifferent from the outside, but this calmness is not emptiness. It's observation, analysis, a search for meaning. They think through their words many times before speaking, read people before they talk, and feel situations before they experience them. For them, thinking is not just a habit, it's a way of living. Every detail, every glance, every silence holds significance. And that's exactly why they see the world differently from everyone else. If you are one of these people, then you know it's not always a romantic adventure. Sometimes you can't sleep until the middle of the night because your thoughts take you even deeper. Sometimes even making a simple decision feels impossible because you see 1,000 possibilities behind every choice. Sometimes you feel alone among others because you realize they don't live in the world your mind inhabits. Now let's explore this inner world together. But before we dive in, I'd be glad if you subscribe to the channel and like the video. So let's begin. In life, there are some people who ponder even the simplest questions deeply. When a topic comes to their mind, they analyze it from every angle, examine it from different perspectives, and can spend hours reflecting on it. We call these people deep thinkers. But what is their inner world really like? What drives them to think in this way? Deep thinking doesn't just mean thinking a lot. It's about not accepting things at face value, striving to understand the causes, consequences, and connections behind everything. Such people are not satisfied with simple answers. They constantly ask themselves and those around them the question, why? Imagine a friend asks you, "How are you?" For most of us, it's just a casual greeting, and replying, "I'm fine," is enough. But a deep thinker, upon hearing this question, might begin to reflect on its true meaning. What does "how are you" really mean? My physical state? My emotional state? My overall satisfaction with life? This kind of thinking shapes the way they view the world. Research shows that the brains of deep thinkers operate in a slightly different mode. Scientists studying these people have found that their brains work more frequently and at full capacity. In particular, the front part of the brain, responsible for everyday tasks like thinking, planning, and decision-making, is more active. This means that when these individuals face a situation, they don't just think, "What should I do now?" They simultaneously ask themselves, "Why is it like this? What could happen next? And what will be the consequences?" In deep thinkers, different regions of the brain are more interconnected. Memory, emotion, logic, and creativity all work together at the same time. This allows them to approach a topic not from a single perspective, but from multiple angles. They recall past experiences, consider their feelings, think logically, and imagine different possibilities, all at once. Another thing is that their brains don't completely switch off even in rest mode. Usually, when a person does nothing and just sits idly, the brain slows down. But in deep thinkers, this doesn't happen. Even in quiet moments, their minds continue to work. Old conversations resurface, future plans are made, and even small details are analyzed again. This is why deep thinkers sometimes appear tired, or why they withdraw into seemingly inexplicable silence. In reality, they are simply living with a mind that never truly stops thinking. Deep thinkers usually possess certain specific personality traits. One of the most important is introspection. Their attention often turns inward. They observe themselves as if from the outside, asking questions like, "Why did I feel this way? Where did this thought come from? Or what really bothers me?" Exploring their inner world and analyzing their emotions and thoughts gives them a sense of comfort, even if it might seem unusual to others. These people often appear calm and thoughtful, but beneath this calmness lie powerful emotions. Deep thinkers are more likely to experience feelings of sadness and melancholy. This does not mean they are weak or troubled. On the contrary, they see not only the visible side of life but also what lies beneath. They have a deeper awareness of life's impermanence, how quickly time passes, and that some things can never be regained. And this awareness can sometimes bring sorrow. They cannot remain indifferent to the injustices of the world or the suffering of others. Someone else's pain, a story they hear, or even a small detail they notice, can stay with them for a long time. Things that others easily forget often leave a lasting impression on deep thinkers. At the same time, these people possess a high level of empathy. They can easily put themselves in someone else's shoes. A subtle expression on someone's face or a slight change in tone rarely escapes their attention. They often understand what someone is feeling before any words are spoken. But this empathy doesn't always work in their favor. Deep thinkers sometimes take on the problems of those around them, carrying another person's pain within themselves. This can exhaust them, weigh on them emotionally, and create a need for solitude. So, thinking deeply is a gift, but this depth can also become one of the heaviest burdens. Let me tell you something. For many people, being alone can feel boring. But for deep thinkers, solitude is not a punishment. It's a necessity. The time they spend alone is a way to restore their inner balance. They need this quiet to be with their thoughts, gather their ideas, and listen to their inner voice. This doesn't mean they are antisocial. They simply choose to use their energy selectively rather than spreading it everywhere. These people prefer a few deep and meaningful friendships over many superficial ones. For them, the value of a relationship is measured not by its number, but by its depth. Small talk, trivial topics, or empty conversations quickly drain them. After such interactions, they often feel empty and depleted. Instead, they are drawn to topics that make them think for hours. The meaning of life, human psychology, time, death, choices, and consequences. Philosophical discussions and sincere, profound conversations are not just talking, they are nourishment for the soul. In these moments, they feel at ease and free to be themselves. In some social gatherings, especially where small talk dominates, they may feel out of place. While others focus on everyday matters, minor problems, or repeated conversations, their minds operate in a completely different realm. They analyze the subtext of a sentence, consider the reason behind a glance, or suddenly ask themselves, why do humans exist? Or, how real is this life? Even when physically present in the room, their minds may wander to an entirely different world. This is why deep thinkers often choose to be alone. In solitude, they finally exist in a world that matches the flow of their thoughts, and this brings them comfort. One of the most challenging and exhausting aspects of deep thinking is overanalysis. Deep thinkers can make even the simplest decisions extremely complicated. Choosing what to eat, which movie to watch, or which shirt to wear can feel like a small project for their mind. This is because they don't consider only the present moment when making a choice. They also think through the possible consequences. Questions like, if I choose this, will I regret it later? Would the other option be better? And how will this decision affect the future? Flood their minds. Every possibility is measured, every alternative evaluated. This also makes the decision-making process significantly more difficult. They expend far more energy than necessary just to make a choice. Sometimes, lost in the depth of their thoughts, they become completely stuck and are unable to decide anything. Their indecision is not a sign of weakness, it is the result of overthinking. Overanalysis doesn't just complicate decisions, it also increases anxiety and stress. Deep thinkers often revisit past decisions in their minds, asking themselves questions like, I wish I hadn't done that, or what if I had acted differently? These thoughts rarely leave them at peace. This cycle of thinking can pull a person away from the present moment. Their body may be here, but their mind is trapped between the past and the future. As a result, savoring the present can become difficult. For deep thinkers, one of the greatest challenges is not necessarily to stop thinking, but to avoid letting their thoughts control them. Another trait often seen in deep thinkers is perfectionism. They want everything to be perfect and push themselves to meet these high standards. But life is rarely perfect, and this can lead to profound frustration. These individuals are also highly self-critical. They magnify small mistakes and constantly analyze their own flaws. Even when others compliment them, they may struggle to believe it internally, feeling that they are never quite good enough. Perfectionism can also hinder creativity. When working on a project, they may never feel it is good enough to be completed. Or they may overthink a project so much before starting that they never even find the courage to begin. Yet, one of the positive aspects of deep thinking is high creativity. Because they can approach problems from unconventional angles, they are often able to find innovative solutions. They notice what others miss and discover connections that aren't immediately visible. Their imagination is rich and expansive. Books they read, films they watch, and experiences they live leave deep impressions on their minds. They connect this information, generating new ideas and perspectives. Many great figures in art, literature, science, and philosophy have been deep thinkers. Their works have transformed the way humanity thinks and opened new perspectives. This is because they did not settle for the surface. They had the courage to dive into the depths. For example, Fyodor Dostoevsky captured the darkest and most contradictory aspects of the human soul, forcing readers to confront their own inner worlds. Franz Kafka depicted the fear of existence and the sense of meaninglessness so profoundly that these feelings remain relevant even today. In philosophy, thinkers like Socrates, Plato, and Friedrich Nietzsche did not hesitate to question who humans are, how they should live, and what truth really is. Even scientists like Albert Einstein were not only working with mathematical formulas. He pondered the nature of time, space, and reality. His profound thinking fundamentally changed humanity's understanding of the universe. Leonardo da Vinci was more than just an artist. He was a thinker who explored human anatomy, nature, mechanics, and the mysteries of life. The power of his work came from refusing to be satisfied with what is merely visible on the surface. In short, what unites all these individuals is their depth of thought. They dared to look beyond appearances and explore the profound layers of reality. Deep thinkers also experience their emotions deeply. When they feel joy, it is intense and overwhelming. When they feel sadness, it is profound. Emotional neutrality is rare for them. This emotional intensity makes life more vivid but also more challenging. A beautiful sunset can bring them to tears because they simultaneously feel both the beauty and the fleeting nature of life. A single piece of music can stay with them for days, leaving a lasting impact. Sometimes others don't understand this intensity. People might say, "Why are you being so dramatic?" Or "Don't take it so seriously." But for deep thinkers, this is simply their normal way of experiencing life, and it cannot be changed. Another characteristic of deep thinkers is their constant search for meaning in life. Simply living is not enough. They want to understand why they are alive and what purpose their existence serves. This search can sometimes lead to existential crises. They think about the meaning of life so deeply that they may feel a sense of emptiness. Questions like, "What is the point of all this?" can trouble them. Yet this search also leads them to profound experiences and discoveries. In philosophy, spirituality, art, and science, they seek answers, and even if they do not find them, the process of searching itself gives them meaning and comfort. Interestingly, deep thinkers experience time differently. They constantly analyze the past, worry about the future, and find it difficult to live fully in the present. Even years after an event, they may relive it, remember details, and analyze it deeply. When planning for the future, they consider every possible scenario. This can sometimes prevent them from taking action because overthinking the future stops them from making the necessary moves in the present. Living in the moment is one of their greatest challenges. Their minds are constantly traveling to the past or the future. Deep thinkers often feel alone. They feel that others cannot fully understand them, and in many ways, they are right. Their inner world is so complex that fully comprehending it is truly difficult. This loneliness is not necessarily physical, but psychological. Even when surrounded by people, they may feel on a different wavelength. The topics being discussed may feel uninteresting, and they may struggle to engage in the conversation. However, when they find someone who truly understands them, it brings immense joy. With such people, they can talk for hours, exchange ideas, and feel truly seen and understood. Deep thinkers are also highly sensitive to their environment. Small details catch their attention. The brightness of lights in a room, the intensity of sounds, the strength of sense, all of this can affect them. This sensitivity is not limited to physical stimuli. It also applies to emotional ones. They easily sense the moods of others, understanding much from a person's tone or facial expression. This sensitivity can sometimes be exhausting. Processing all the information from the world takes a lot of energy, which is why deep thinkers often need time to rest, be alone, and recharge. Society often demands conformity. People are expected to think, behave, and feel in similar ways. For deep thinkers, however, this can be difficult. They enjoy asking questions, challenging the status quo, and thinking differently. This pressure to conform can create internal conflicts. On one hand, they want to be themselves. On the other, they want to be accepted. Sometimes they choose to hide their true thoughts and avoid speaking up to prevent problems. But concealing oneself for too long is exhausting. Eventually, they seek environments where they can be authentic and accepted. In such spaces, they open up and show their true selves. Deep thinkers believe in continuous growth. For them, learning is a lifelong process. They strive to learn something new every day and to improve themselves. They enjoy gathering knowledge through books, courses, seminars, and various experiences. But this is more than just accumulating information. They seek true understanding and deep insight. Self-discovery is also part of this process. They analyze their strengths and weaknesses, their values, and their beliefs. Their goal is to become more authentic and whole as individuals. In this way, deep thinkers experience life in a richer, more meaningful way. But they also face more worries, more questions, and more internal struggles. They must learn to value their differences. Being unlike others is not a problem. It is a form of uniqueness. The world needs deep thinkers, innovators, philosophers, artists, and seekers of truth. If you are a deep thinker, know that you are not alone. There are millions of people in the world who think, feel, and live as you do. And your ability to think deeply can be used to make the world a better place. Your depth of thought is your superpower. Use it with wisdom and purpose.